Yeah, look, we're live.
Hey,
Hey,
good morning,
everybody. How
everybody.
fun is this?
Good.
This is so exciting. It's so nice to see
Absolutely.
you.
Technology
Hi.
is amazing. It's amazing what we can do nowadays.
I
How's
know,
everything
I
been
know.
going?
Good, good.
Good,
This morning
good.
was a little crazy. The homeschooling thing's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's not my cup of tea.
Teaching just regularly wasn't my cup of tea, as you saw from the
Yeah.
book. Wasn't my cup of tea either. So I completely understand.
Oh
It's
my God.
one on
Yeah,
one. I can't even
yeah.
can you imagine, right? 30 when teachers have to have 30 kids and they're. So my heart goes
I
out to
can't
all the
imagine. And
teachers.
I watched, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But because of that, I'm wondering if I could lead us in a like 2 minute meditation to help me get
Absolutely.
grounded because I didn't have time to meditate this morning.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I'm
No.
going to be all over the place. Okay,
Absolutely.
and then people can join in with us. Someone's already saying this is so awesome, so that's good. All right, everybody. So welcome. We're just going to start with a grounded meditation here with Ian before I dive into his brilliant brain. Um, so let's just close our eyes for a second. Just get ourselves into the moment. Just really become aware of our breath, whatever space our bodies are in right now. And let's just see if the couple moments that we're together, we can just tune into hope, into possibility, into love, into light, into all the healing that we need for each other and everyone else. If you can do a quick body scan and just realize where you're holding tension, where you might be able to release some of it. And then as you breathe, just see if you can tune into anything that you might need to just get through today. And see if you can just bring in the possibility of allowing yourself to bring that to you today. Take a couple more really deep breaths here, really filling up the chest. And then letting the air out the mouth. And then when you're ready, just gently open your eyes. Take your time. Hello.
Hey, excellent. Excellent. Excellent way to start off a call. I love it.
Yeah, I was like
I
so
love it.
scattered. I was like, oh my God, I need to ground myself. Okay. I knew you'd be down for that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I
Hey,
figure,
yeah.
Ian, can you, for the folks that don't know, I know that the people that were at the retreat know who you are, but if you could just introduce yourself, maybe talk about, the Noble Truth Project,
Yeah.
how you got into it, and then just a little bit about your background, and then we'll dive into some other stuff.
Okay, cool. Thank you. My name is Ian Elmore Moore, the founder of the Noble Truth Project, based out here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a coach, consultant, and also a yoga instructor. Yoga instructor.
Yeah.
How did I get started with all of this? Uh, it started off as a mentoring program for educated adolescents. I felt the need to give back, especially to young men in my community at the time, and I saw a lot of young men who were making poor decisions, poor choices, and I got with the juvenile court system, and I offered my services to coach coach them, right? Give them a mentoring program, and through that, I got certified to be a yoga instructor because I realized the importance of mindfulness. That was one of the key things that our young people were missing, and through that. A great nonprofit organization. I kind of stepped away from it, even though it's still running actively. And I started to do my own coaching and consulting to raise revenue for the nonprofit for the work that we're doing. To date, we have served over 500 young men. People have
Nice.
become fathers, they have become right graduates of college and high school. Some are in the armed services, in the military. Just some amazing stories, and I just look forward to sharing with you today too, because it doesn't matter. I realized too, I was helping this target population, but I realized when working with them, their parents needed it too, right? Their grandparents needed it
Right.
too. It was like the whole community. So I realized my services can expand past adjudicate adolescents to serve the better community. You know?
Yeah. Cool. What's your
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
thing about teaching yoga?
My favorite thing about teaching yoga is exactly what you just did: meditation, guided meditation, visualization. That's it. I think I'm moving into a different space right now, into like restorative yoga.
Oh, yes. I just got,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
That's where it's at. That's where the magic is at. Let
That's
me tell
that.
you.
I think for me, I think that's my bread and butter with the yoga because I do yoga in
Totally.
DJJ facilities, so it's
Yeah.
mainly trauma based, and the
Yes.
positions are cool. Like I could do a headstand. I'm working on my handstand. Just my hands. I seen that handstand challenge, so I'm looking to get ready for that. But a lot of people, it's not about the postures. It's
It's
not.
not, right?
I
No.
mean, alignment and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So I'm gonna focus. I think the rest of this year, going into next year, in the future, of me doing yoga is gonna be more restorative, just
Oh, good.
meditating, breathing, maybe light movement, things of that nature,
Yeah.
because it's needed. It's needed, and I think sometimes people feel intimidated by the yoga, like the actual
Right.
postures.
Totally. Oh my
They
God.
see me doing a crow or a headstand, they're like, oh well. I don't think I'm gonna come this week. I don't think I'm coming at all. So I'm gonna take a step back and say, you know what, that's not why I decided to do yoga. It's been
Right.
helpful in terms of physical, but mental. Mental
Yeah,
is everything
totally.
for me.
Yeah. And people are going to need it after this whole epidemic even more,
Oh,
just to
absolutely.
release all the trauma that they've experienced during this time. So, can you tell people how are you doing, and is it affecting you? Is it affecting your business, and how are you managing? And you're always so super positive. So, like, how are you so positive, and you're so positive during this time? What's working for you?
Well, thank you, thank you. I'm happy I come across that way, which is excellent
Oh,
because
when
we
you
all
Chris and
have
I talked to you the other time, I'm like, I look at her,
we
I'm like,
all
it's so positive.
yeah. It's like one day at a time, right? I'm
Right,
healthy. I'm healthy. I'm alive, and that gives me hope for the future. That's it. As long as I got
right.
those two things, the future is looking bright. Um, in terms, I'm doing well. Our family's doing well. Most of my family's in New Jersey,
Oh,
so
yeah, that's
it's
right.
really spreading. Right, the tri-state area is really getting affected by it. But I'm happy to say right now, today on the phone, none of my immediate family members or extended family members have it, so I'm good. Anybody who does, my heart goes out to you. Anybody who's in the hospitals right now working as a nurse, my heart goes out to you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Because it is real. How
Right.
has it been affecting me in terms of business? Dramatically, right? Like I do yoga. So a large percentage of my income is yoga based. So right? I mean, the live classes and going on, social media, it's kind of donation based is not the same. I had contract yoga too. So most of my yoga is not coming from, you know, community. It's coming
Right.
from like the DJJ. It's coming from local high schools, local middle
Right.
schools. So like they're closed. So that's big. But that's why I pulled the trigger. Like that's why I was like,
Oh, good.
hey, like there got to be another way that we can start to generate some type of income. So it
Okay.
was just about being creative, um, and trusting myself to just say like, okay, this yoga is being a little stagnant right now. What else can I do to keep the wheels turning? So with
Right.
that, I'm just so excited because I finally got it out. It's like,
Right.
man, I've been writing and get this thing out. So that's pretty much how I'm doing during this whole Corona time. I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. I understand we need the social distance, so yoga shut down for me. Like,
Right.
right? I'm not even going to force it. Whenever it comes back, it comes back. But I want to remind everybody that doesn't stop your show. If you're in a service
Totally.
industry, yeah, if you're doing something and you feel like, oh man, I can't do yoga, this is what I do. Like, we got to be creative. You have to
Yeah.
meditate, right? Really go within and find out what else could you be doing? How else could
Right.
you be serving people? It's not, maybe it is a meditation. Maybe you're calling it, you're calling people on a Zoom call and leading
Right.
meditation.
Yeah.
Like there's other ways that you can serve. And there's other ways that, honestly, everybody's scared about the generated income. There's other ways you can generate income.
Sure.
We just got to
Always.
be creative to tap into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
How have
Awesome.
you been doing? How's everything going with you?
So it's going okay. So the thing I was thinking about this morning is like just what you said about like creativity. It's like, how do you, so the studio's totally closed down.
Yeah,
So I'm not making income that way. We just figured out how to get a full schedule up this week. Because in the beginning, when this first thing happened, everyone was like in shock and, how are we going to do this? And then trying to figure out Zoom was like how to do an exercise class on Zoom was like not the easiest in the beginning. And so, how to do all that. So we just sort of got a rhythm
that's
so that
good.
now we do Facebook Lives, we do Zoom. We have a ton of different avenues for people then
And your
to access.
community's probably growing because of it,
Well, that's the funny
right?
thing. I have friends now through the internet that I was like, how were we not friends before? Wait, it took an epidemic. You're so far away, but oh my God, we're like the same person. Like,
There you
so
go.
that has really, really been super cool. Yeah, and been able to reach people in a wider venue. But then doing things like this, like I don't know if we would have had, a
Oh
Monday
no,
motivational
time or yeah,
series. If
no,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying, I'm like, I'll just keep it. Like, there's no reason
There
not
you
to keep
go.
it.
We gotta make the best of it, and there's always an
Right,
opportunity that is going to come out of a crisis. So,
right,
right, search for that opportunity, whatever it is.
right,
Whoever's listening to this, right, find out what that opportunity is. Spend some time with yourself. That's the
right.
biggest thing that you could do during this period. It is
Yeah,
really meditate, self-reflect, journal, find out what is your gift and how can you deliver your gift in this time. I think you're right. I think we're going to have a booming industry once this thing kind of settles in because there's going to be a lot of shifting that's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of
yeah,
people who are going to need right self-help. They're going to need meditation. They're going to need coaching. They're going to need consulting. They're going to need this stuff. So it's really about brushing the skills off, getting ready to go because
I
it's
know,
it's coming.
totally.
It is
Yeah,
absolutely coming.
I know. I
Yeah,
was
and I'm
thinking that
excited for it.
my husband was
Uh,
trying to get me to do coaching online for a long time, and I'm like, it's just not my thing. Like, I love people's
Yeah,
energy. I love being around them. I do a lot of the coaching comes from the physical stuff, but because I've had to force myself to, work within that over the screen, I'm like,
yeah.
I can totally now coach whoever, whenever. So now that, once the coaching gets up and going again, I pause it for a little while just to take care of myself. But
I feel
now
you.
I can look at it in a different way and approach it totally different, which is
Oh,
kind of cool.
we
I
have
never, I
to.
never would have done that before.
Oh, well, I'm happy then unfortunately I'm happy that this happened because this
Right.
is it. Like the live coaching or the internet, using technology to enhance coaching is about to be it. It
Right.
really is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people, like we said, they're just gonna need help. My sister working a big time corporation, just got a raise right
Oh wow.
before this thing happened. Then they called her back in during this time and they said, hey, yeah, that raise, it's gone.
Right.
Right? Yeah, that promotion, you still got the promotion, so you still got to do the work,
Oh, oh
but
my
you don't
God.
have the money. Like, so I'm like, man, but that's the period that we're in now. It's about to
Right.
be more for less. That's what I keep saying. We're going to be asked to do more and expect to receive less from it. But it's okay because it's
Yeah.
going to come back in karma, right? So more
Yeah.
for less. We're going to do more coaching calls. And honestly, I'm charging less because
Yeah.
I
Me
know
too.
the time period, right? More yoga
Right.
classes, and I have no problem. Like charge less because I'll get more people to come in. It's about doing more for less at this period of time right now.
Yeah, and some for free. Like some people are in real crisis and just need a counselor, and so I'm like, you can call me. Like
There you go.
it's hard. I totally get it.
Yeah,
Totally get
yeah.
it.
Nobody's ever seen anything like this.
Right, exactly. I'd rather save lives than have to worry about people who don't have money right now. Just
Like
yeah,
nobody have ever seen anything like this, and I
right.
don't think I think once it's over, it's going to really start.
Yeah, totally.
But not to be grim, not because you got to remain positive. We just got to be
Exactly.
prepared. See, I don't want to write positivity, da da da, but let's be realistic. Let's tell the noble truth sometimes, because sometimes, right, I think people try to, da da da, but like, no,
It's
it's
hard.
going, it is hard. Absolutely, absolutely, it's hard. But we will get through this. We
Yeah,
will get through this. You will
totally.
get through this. Whoever's
Yeah.
watching this, you will get through this.
Yes,
But it's
that's our
on
message.
you. It's on
Yeah.
you to log on right now and watch the live. It's on you to make the connections. It's on you to send the emails and reach out for assistance. It's really up to you. It's on you to connect to people on LinkedIn if you're looking to get your income back in shape or form. It's up to you to make those phone calls while you're sitting at home. It's up to you to meditate. It's up to you to journal. It's up to you to do the work. Like
Right.
we got a lot of time on our hands right now. So, right, what are we doing with our time? Are we making the best decisions for us and our family and our future? You
Right.
know?
Right. Love
Yeah.
that. It's up to you. Yeah. It is. It totally is. I love that. Yeah. So
To you and you
let's
deal.
transition to the book. I think that's
Thank
a
you.
good segue.
Yay!
So I didn't,
Yay!
yay,
Yay!
there it is. Of course I didn't bring it with me. I wrote my questions down. Um, so I didn't get to read the whole thing, but I read
Yeah.
as much as I could yesterday when I got it. And then you sent it to me and I was like, oh my God.
Look at the spirit, right? Look how that worked out. I was like, let me just
Isn't
send the
that
book.
funny? It's like you're
And
not going to
bam,
believe
you
what
got the
just
book.
came to the door. I'm like,
That's
oh
how
my
it
God,
works.
that's so funny.
And I just
Um,
seen that on Facebook that we like met each other today or we became
Yes,
Facebook
I
friends today. That's
woke up and that was the first thing I saw. It was like, happy anniversary, Ayanna and Ian. I was like, well, that timing is
wow. Look at that.
great.
We just look
Yeah,
at
so
that's
we met on this
amazing.
day last year.
That's amazing.
How
That's
cool
how
is
the
that?
universe works. That's excellent. Yeah,
No,
absolutely.
that was so funny. So I wrote notes because I love certain things about the book, but just if you could
Thank
tell
you.
people, like what was the background and what was the motivation, and then just like a brief, what are the 6 steps?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this. Number one, first and foremost, I love working with youth. Like I'm an
Yeah,
educator. I done gang prevention in Atlanta, Fulton County. Um, right? Like I did a mentoring program I just spoke about. Like youth, because they're the future. Like I've been blessed and fortunate enough to have the life that I'm having, and I just, it could have been different for me in my circumstances, in my neighborhood, you know, my region where I grew up, and I know that some people are having difficult times, and I know there's a young person who doesn't have a mentor because I didn't have one coming up, and I wrote it for them, like I really did. I want every kid, every middle school, every high schooler, right, to have this book. Every kid in the DJJ to have this book. So that was my main inspiration. Is to right. I've been reading uh, Think and Grow Rich, As a Man Thinketh, Power of the Subconscious Mind. I've just been exposed to all of these great books, self-help books, and I look back on it and I said, somebody like me, when I was in high school, there's no way I would have
right,
picked up Think and Grow Rich. Number one, it's too big. It had like 300-400 pages in it, right? Like I'm not
right.
picking that up. If I'm a teenager or I'm in college, my first year, I'm not picking that up. It's too many pages. I'm just being
Right.
real. So I said, what does this new generation need? What do we need? And I
Mm,
said, let me comprise my own self-help book, looking at all these different self-help books and kind of condensing them together and put a new spin on, a new flavor on it. And boom, we came up with Grow More: The 6 Steps to Success.
oh, cool.
Um,
Okay.
and this is the curriculum, right? Lo and behold, this is the same curriculum that I was using with the mentoring program. And the
Mm,
mentoring program, like I said, is working with at-risk youth, adjudicated adolescents. We're talking about armed robbers, right? We're talking about gang members, right?
yeah.
All types of crimes. So we were able to change gangsters to graduates, employees to entrepreneurs, homeless, right? Some of my kids were homeless to homeowners. How do we do it? We did it with the 6 step philosophy. Number one, before you even get to the actual goal, let me take back. You have the preface here, right here, and it talks about you attracted this.
Yes, I love that part.
You
And then don't read the book alone.
You can't,
I love that.
because I condensed so much in it. It's like one sentence, but you can harp on a one sentence, and you could have wrote a whole chapter on one sentence. And because I just I just had to get it out and make sure it was quick and it was a nice read, that I
Yeah,
didn't
that was good.
go in depth. But that was my marketing part, to say like, hey, let's get coaching, let's get consulting, because there's so many parts in the book that I just kind of shared with you, but I didn't go in depth with it. But before that, so number one, before I get to the 6 steps, is thank you. You attracted
I just
this.
show you.
You've attracted this, whether you had the money to get it, whether, right, you had a relationship, somebody gifted to you, you got the book. You got to know who you are and where you are. I think that's the most important thing. When I was talking to young people, I had to show them who they are. They didn't know who they were. They thought they were, right, bloods. I'm like, man, don't identify. But if you identify then that's going to be your circumstance. So I have to really explain that you're a physical being, you have intellectual powers, uh, you're spiritual. Like that, you're spiritual. Somehow, some way you got here, right? So
Yeah.
where you are, you're in the earth, the universe, and there's laws, universal laws. We just talked about karma. That's number one. We got to get to that understanding before we can even implement the 6 steps. You have to realize who you are. And I'm here to tell you, everybody's here for a reason. You guys are special. If you're watching this right now, you are absolutely special. And you're here for a large purpose, a great purpose. You might not have found that out yet, but that's why this is here. So you can take time. This is why we're in quarantine right now. So, or social distancing, so you can find out what it is. What it is. The
Wow,
first
what's a
step is,
beautiful way to look at it, Ian.
yeah,
Really
like you're a
is.
spiritual being. My parents, like I said in the last call when we had this call, my parents, right, they had sex many times, but they only had 2 children.
I love it.
They only had 2 children. So like when you think about it, it's a magical thing that you are here and you're
Exactly.
living. I can't even explain it, right? And I won't, because I'm not a scientist or doctor or anything like that. Uh, but
You're
once you
close, brother.
identify
You're
who
close.
you are, thank you, and you identify where you are and how this world operates with the universal laws, then we can get into the 6 steps. And the first one is set a goal. You
Yeah.
got to set a goal. I think so many people are walking around and they don't have a goal.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
and I think that leads to frustration, because
Mhm.
you have so much potential. You know you're a spiritual being. You know you're physical. You know you have intellectual powers. You know you can create things. You can change things. You know you can help people, and it gets real frustrating when you don't have a goal in place. Like what? Like
Mm.
I'm
Yeah, like where are
here,
you
but
going?
yeah,
Yeah,
but what's the reason why I'm here? Like, what am I
yeah,
supposed to be doing? And I don't know. You have to find that out for yourself. But I
yeah.
believe your goal has to be definite. I believe it should be like one goal, and I believe it should be serving other people. I believe it should be measurable. I believe it should be aligned to who you are. I believe it should be realistic to you. I believe it should be timed. You gotta set a goal. And that's probably one of the most important things out of the book, is if you don't have a goal, right, you'll be attached to somebody else's goal. That's what I was realizing working with at-risk. Like, they didn't have a goal. So big homie on the block would tell them what their goal was, and that's what they would do. It's
Yes,
sad because
yeah,
like people are ending up making bad decisions. It's not even really their decision. Like somebody told them to do it,
yeah. They're
and they
just
ended up
following
doing
whatever.
it.
Got
But
it.
but this is not just for at-risk youth. So if you're going to work every day and your boss is telling you what to do, I mean, granted, you got to get your check, but like, is it the
Be
same
yourself.
type of relationship? Is that really your goal, or is it the job's goal? Is it your
Yeah,
manager's goal? Or is it your
right,
goal? See, I'm not
right.
talking again about, I'm talking about you and you. It's a you and you deal. So I'm saying, like, what is your goal? Not what the company you work for goal, right? Not even your kid's goal. I'm saying, like, look
Oh
in the
no, not
mirror.
my
What is
goal.
your goal? Like, what is your goal? And I think this is a perfect time to read this short read right here. Maybe you buy a book, you donate to a young person, and you read it with them. And
Yeah,
because you're gonna find out
great
some
idea.
nuggets in here, and you're gonna say, like, time out. For the last 10 years, I've been working on other people's goals.
Right. Yeah.
I
Or
haven't sat
we
down and
said read it with a friend. Like I was reading with my husband, not really, but like we were outside and
okay,
like
moment truth.
yeah, well he wanted to, it was like a fight. We were outside and he was like, I'm gonna go read Ian's book. I'm like, no, I'm gonna read Ian's book. And he was like, what? I got it for me. I'm like, he's like, you said he sent you one for free. I'm like, he did, but I have to prepare for this interview, so I'm gonna read it.
Okay,
And
he's
then
a
so
man.
he let me read it, and then later we were having a discussion because he was like, well, can you tell me what's in the book? So
That's
it was
it.
pretty funny.
I'm
Yeah,
happy. Yeah, I think it's great to read with.
right.
I don't believe it. I didn't write it for a person just to read it and put it down. I wrote it for like you to constantly come back to it every time you set a goal.
Yeah.
Every time you need a refresher, and I think it's something you'll finish in a day if you really put your mind to
Yeah,
it.
it was super nice, like easy read. I was like, oh, thank God. Because
I think,
especially right now, like
thank
your
you,
brain can't focus on anything too complex because there's just everyone's so overwhelmed. And so when I picked the book up and I was like, oh my God, like how am I gonna get through that? And I was like, oh, it's so easy. It just flows. Like
thank you,
it's so nice.
thank you.
And so let me tell you, there's a couple nuggets in here that I love. So the title, How Blunts Lead to Mindfulness, boom. I mean,
Boom.
I mean,
You got to say it
I
one more
was
time for
dying
because I don't think
laughing.
they
You
get
should
to
have
have
heard
heard
me on
it.
the deck. I was like, oh, he went there. He went there.
How blunt led to mindfulness. Absolutely. That's one of the
It's
stories I
so
tell in the book. I think the best way to teach, as a former teacher, I was teaching history, and that's one of the hardest things to teach because people are like, "Why does this matter to me, Mr. Moore? I don't care about the French and Indian War." You got to be a great storyteller. So throughout the book, there are stories to articulate the themes and the messages. So one of the stories is how blunt led to mindfulness, right? Blunt, like actual, like smoking a blunt led to mindfulness. And that talks about my mentoring program. And when I started to introduce yoga and mindfulness to the group of young men, right? Never exposed to really yoga. I might have seen it on YouTube or something and laughed it off. And I was like, how in the world am I going to get my kids to buy in to yoga, to mindfulness?
right.
Um, and I started doing a regular yoga class and whatnot, and nobody was participating. It was like, what? They're looking at me like, bro, you could do that. Like, I'm not doing that, right? So I stopped. I stopped midway through the yoga session and I said, hey, how many of y'all smoke marijuana? How many of y'all smoke weed? Right? Like that's something like a mentor, like in a court
Right.
system. Like everybody, like what? What's up with this guy? Like where are we going with this? Like what? They're looking at me crazy, but I had to make it relatable. And right, I said no for real. Like how many? Right, and hands shot up. Right, these are young men. They're not scared. Like yeah, man, I do it, absolutely. I'm about to do it after this program. Right. So I said, hey, act like you were smoking. What do you mean? Like what do you mean, Ian? Like talk about act like I'm smoking. Like, no, like really. Like, what? But then one kid stepped up, man. One kid, his name's Sammy, by the way. Sammy stepped up and he's like, all right, man, whatever, man. So I gave him a pencil. It was a pencil. He's like, I was like, how you feel? He's like, feel the same. I said, like, keep doing it. Like, keep doing it as long as you would do it for a blunt, right? Maybe 10, 15 minutes. Keep doing it for 10, 15 minutes. He was like, after 10, 15 minutes, well, it wouldn't take even take that long. It'd take maybe 5 or 6 times he did it. He was like, man, I feel better. And then by the end of the session, all the kids
Breathing.
were breathing. They're doing the
Yeah.
exact thing that we did when we started this call. They started to get into a meditation.
Right.
They started to understand their breath. They started to be in control of their breath, and that's going to help when it's time for them to make decisions. And I just wanted to expose to them like they didn't have to smoke. Like you don't have to. Like what you are really seeking is just breathing. You are looking for a breathing technique to get through stressful times. And like
Yeah.
you don't need this or that. You can just do it right now. And
Exactly.
that led to everything else. That led to everything else. But it I don't know. It was one of those things where the spirit, I guess creativity hit me and said, this is what you need to say to him, and this is how you need to introduce yoga to him. And it worked. Because at first I was just
That's
trying
so
to
awesome.
push yoga.
Yeah, people don't know that smoke cigarettes all the time. So, like when I was in rehab for alcohol addiction, the people we'd smoke, myself included, like packs of cigarettes. Like it was wild. And then I realized, like, you guys, what we're doing is really trying to get breath into the body, right? It's not the smoke. It's the brain that's thinks it's addicted to the nicotine. It really just needs the breath. It just needs the breath. It's wild. It's wild. It was like the biggest
You were
phenomenon.
addicted to the process too,
right.
of inhaling and exhaling.
Exactly,
Like
because that's it. During that time is when it
you
was
just
so critical
like
and
the
our body
process
needed
of
it.
inhaling
Yeah,
and exhaling. The
yeah,
nicotine, yes, played a role into addiction too, but a lot of
right.
times people are
But not
addicted to
really.
just the oral fixation of it all, the
Yeah,
breathing, the exhaling,
the
like
breathing.
that man, and
Right, and
it's
the habit, and that the brain had convinced itself that like that's what you need to calm down. Right? It's wild. It's wild.
and I gave him a
Anyway, there's
pencil
another
and
piece
he
in the
changed his
book I
life.
want to talk about,
Okay,
and then
yeah,
I'm going to open it up for questions if people have
cool.
questions. But so I think you wrote this because you have a bunch of quotes in there from other people. But this one is to be actively patient is to be persistent. You
Absolutely.
remember
That's
writing that?
me.
That's page 73. That's you.
That's me.
That's so
Absolutely.
awesome. And you know why I think that's awesome? It's because I think right now that's exactly like the great description that we're in. And so people think like, Christy and I were talking about yesterday of like people think they got to do so much stuff and just be, dive into stuff and not take care of themselves and be more productive. And it's like, no, being patient right now with ourselves is being active. So I just love that you said that. So I don't know if you have any other things you
Yeah,
want to say.
it's just that let it come to you. Don't
Yeah.
force it. That's why we meditate. That like meditation, visualization. It did. This was like the number one for that time. For that time period, it was like number 5, but it's really number 1 for paperback because I put it under self-help meditation because
Yeah.
like that's a huge component to how I change my life. That's a huge component to how I coach. Like meditation is everything to me. Visualization is everything. So when I say that, active being actively patient. Like, what do you mean? Like meditate. Like once you actually get the idea and it's sewn in and you believe it, then yes, absolutely implement it. Implement it, yes. But you don't want to be impulsive with it too, because then you're gonna make mistakes. So what I say by actively being patient is you're allowing the ideas to come to you. You're allowing yourself to actually receive the idea that's going to change your life. Sometimes we just work, and we're not stopping and thinking, like, okay,
Right.
what's the process for this? Is this really going to help? Like, is this really the right way to go about it? And I believe if you take a moment and you do what I said, I have blunt letter mindfulness, just breathe, and you're going to find out, right, that idea is going to pop into your head. It's going to be like, bing,
Totally.
and that's when you start moving. But you don't want to just start moving on
Yeah.
any like type of idea, and make sure it's yours. Make sure it came to you. Make sure you didn't hear it on the TV or somebody else told you, gave you an idea or suggestion. And you're moving with that because that might not be for you. And the only way you're gonna really know if it's for you is when you quiet everything out, when you get everything around you, you settle down and you say, "Let me just breathe. Let me meditate." And if it comes to you, that's it. That's for
Right.
you. That's the
Totally.
idea
That's
that
how
you
the
need to
retreat
be
happened.
implementing.
Yep. That's how the retreat happened. That's how this happened. All of that was
Absolutely.
when I was just being still and just connecting. And then the universe talks to you and really gets in there what is meant for you. I think that's totally true.
You
We're
don't
gonna
have to
open this
force
up, you guys.
anything.
So
Yeah.
if you're out there and you have questions, I can see the questions. So just pop them in. I know Christy has some. I don't know if she's still with us. If she's not, she sent me some. So let me see if I can find them. Hold on 1 second. Give people a minute. Because I don't think you can't see people's comments, can you?
I cannot. No, maybe
No,
over
that's
the
okay. That's I
chat.
can pop them up like this. Like
Okay.
that's not a question, but there's
Hey,
a
thank you.
comment.
Appreciate it. You rock. Hey.
And Dawn, she's a really sweet woman. And Janine, here's Janine. She was
Janine, peace.
do you remember Janine? She
She
was at
got
the
my book.
retreat.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so
she got
much.
you back.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
much
yeah,
love.
yeah.
Much love, heart.
Yeah. All right, so here's a question from Christy. This is how specifically do you act in the face of fear, and why is that so hard sometimes for many
Mm,
people?
mm.
So can
That's
you
real.
talk
Yeah,
about that?
overcome fear is in the book too. That's actually step number two. I believe once you set a goal, the next thing you have to do is overcome your fear. Because if you're not going to overcome your fear, that's going to be a barrier for you. You're not going to be able to get to that level of success that you want. And success to me is peace of mind. Just have peace of
Mm,
mind. I don't want to worry about anything. Overcoming fear, I said number one is really about sharing your noble truth, sharing your story, getting it out there and saying it. Because once you say it, you feel like, it's relief that just fell off of you because you're holding it in. You're holding it in. And you got to look at fear in multiple ways. Number one, it's something that's unknown, right? You don't know what's going to happen. That's why you're afraid of it, right? It might have happened in the past, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen in the present or the future. So it's like a period of space that's unknown to you. But you got to act with faith. You got to flip fear on
mm,
its backside and say, hey, it's going to work out well. I believe there's five mental fears usually. There's one of, age. People think they're too old to do something. People feel their health is not sound enough for them to move forward. People believe that they're afraid to go broke, so they don't invest their money. They don't invest in
right.
themselves like they need to. They don't invest in a yoga class. They don't invest in meditation. They know it, but they don't want feel like they have to give up their money to do it. Number three is they have a fear of criticism. They have a fear what other people are going to say. But you have to know, if you go all the way back to the preface, who you are. You have
Mm-hmm.
to know who you are. If you really know who you are, you shouldn't be fearful of criticism. You shouldn't be fearful of the next one, doubt, and you shouldn't be fear of failure. Failure is not gonna. You're not gonna fail. You're just learning a lesson. So I truly go back to the preface. Anytime I come up with fear and I say, "Who am I?" It's easy
Mm,
for Ian to get fearful and get scared because it's Ian. I'm not tapping into my spiritual source. I'm not tapping into my
right.
intellectual capabilities. I'm not tapping into my physical being. So, of course, if it's just Ian Elmore Moore, I'm terrified. But I have to go deeper and find out I'm not just Ian Elmore Moore here. Like, I'm very gifted in my mind. I have mental powers that I don't even, know where it came from, right? But number two, I'm a spiritual being.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have somewhat of spiritual powers. This is a manifestation. The logo, this is a manifestation. These are examples of my spiritual power. And you have it too. You have created something. You have invented something. You have shaped something in your life that shows you that you are a spiritual being and you can manifest all things. If you're watching this right now, you're watching it on a cell phone, a laptop, something that you manifested in your life. You've attracted
Totally.
that. You attracted the money, the job,
Check that.
something
How
to
was
give
that?
you the computer, to give you the house, whatever you're in. Like, that's an example of your spiritual power. So tap back
Yeah.
into that. And when you tap into that, you can't, it's hard to be scared. It really is. Because you're saying, what am I? You
Yeah.
know how powerful I am? Why am I scared of this or that? You're going to find out how minute, how small your fear is compared to how powerful you are. A powerful person is not really scared of a little tiny, right? A lion is not going to be like, oh man, there was a little mouse, right?
Right.
That's how you should look at it. That fear that might be holding you back is a mouse. And once you start realizing that you're a lion, it's not going to stop you. It's
So
not going to
true.
stop
It's
you.
so good. What
Tap
we gotta
into
start to
strength.
wrap up, but what would you say to people who are just struggling right now? Like, what's the best advice you would give them, or just to stay positive, or I call it mentally fit, just or mentally well. I don't know. There's so many people struggling right now,
I've
and
been So I don't know if everybody can see this. So I've been journaling every day that we've been on social distance. I like for me,
wow,
every morning I wake up, I journal, and I've been journaling. In the book, I
cool.
kind of talk about that too. Journaling, I think, is something that can really help you. It can allow your thoughts to flow on paper, maybe your next idea to flow on paper in a way that you can vent. Because some people are in the house by themselves, right? I got family members who are like by themselves. They're in their apartment. They live by
No,
themselves. They're not going to work, so they're like home,
yeah,
right? At least I have my wife. I got my dog. Like they have, they're disconnected. So I say, hey, journal, um, connect to people. So I think that what we're doing right now on social media is
yeah,
powerful.
yeah.
Make some phone calls. I think
Make some phone
your
calls.
network is going to be your net worth. So I think call people. Call people you have. If you have a cell phone and you got 200 people in your phone, let's see if you can call them all during this time and just check up. Hey, how you doing? Da da da. And watch what's gonna happen to you when you start connecting to more and more people during this period. They're gonna start giving you uplift, right? They're gonna start giving you maybe different ideas to help you. They're just gonna be your supporters when you do want something and you write a book or whatever you got going on. They're gonna be the first people to support you because you took time out your day to just check in with them. So I think there's
Yeah.
multiple things that we could be doing during this period of time. And it all goes back to the first thing we did when we got on this call is just still yourself and let
Right.
your spirit, let your energy, let your spirit, let the universe tell you what you need to be doing. But those quick three things: meditate, journal, and call. And then
Yeah.
I believe after that, you're gonna find out, okay, this is what I need to be doing during this time. But if you do those three things
Yeah.
first, you'll find it out.
Yes. I love it.
Hey, hey, thank you.
Hey, so thank you so much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
It was so
Thank you for
awesome.
supporting me. I truly
Uh,
appreciate it. I'm really gonna
of
like,
course, everybody get Ian's book. Everybody buy it.
I really appreciate it. I really do. I'm telling you,
Of
all of
course,
it
we
goes
love
to
you.
nonprofit, to the youth that I serve every day. That's really it. And I just want to encourage everybody to just live your best life. Don't let this thing get in your way. Don't think
Yeah,
about
don't
the
let
negative
this.
things. Like,
Exactly. Keep moving forward.
use it as a
Keep
time to
moving
really
forward.
reflect, to find out who's important to you, to find out what your purpose or your calling is. Like, this is a great
Yeah.
time to slow down, you know?
Yeah. And if you guys love this, I'm going to do it every Monday, 10 o'clock. We're going to interview somebody that's a leader in the community. That the goal of this really is to get you to be in a space of motivation and inspiration. Because I think a lot of people are getting in spaces right now that are the opposite of that. And that's not going to help yourself. That's not going to help the universe. It's not going to help any type of healing.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what can I do to kind of spearhead that? And so here we are.
You manifested it.
So I'm manifesting it. How about that? So cool.
Oh,
I
you had the
know.
idea. That's it.
And the retreat's still on because it was in October anyway.
Let's
So
do
that's
it.
kind of cool.
Absolutely.
And Ina's joining us again for the retreat. He's going to do an actual workshop this year. So thank you for saying yes when I asked
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
And he will be there because last year he, as you remember, he was the motivational speaker. He was the first keynote speaker for the Be Free Coaching and
Thank you.
Wellness
Thank you. Absolutely.
Becoming Free retreat. And so he's going to come back because I thought that a lot of people were asking, they wanted to talk more. So just to get you, pick your brain a little bit. So
Let's do it.
they wanted to get you back. So I was like, how about a workshop? And
Let's
and
do
so they're like, ask him. And I was like, hopefully he says yes. So
it.
so
Please don't
I will
forget who
physically
you
see you in
are.
October.
Anybody watching, please don't forget who you are. Like, not your name, not your race, not your gender, not your age, not your social economic status. Like, who are you? And once you find out that true answer, you're gonna look at this moment of time. You're gonna be like, I'm ready. I'm ready. That's what I do. Who are you? You know who you are. You're a spiritual being, and you have intellectual powers. You can do all things.
Yeah,
I just had to share that with everybody. I really want to get that message across. Know who you are.
I love that. It's so good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Hey, I like that. There you
You
go.
got to get StreamYard, buddy. It's so fun.
I gotta I gotta get a StreamYard.
So
Okay.
fun. I know. I was practicing with Christine.
That's
I was like
good.
putting funny stuff up. It was hilarious. Anyway, so thank you
Absolutely.
and be
You're
well.
welcome.
And
Thank you.
we might do one more with you before the retreat. How about that?
Sounds good. Yeah. We'll
All
make
right.
it happen. Take
All
care.
right. I love
Enjoy.
you.
Love you too. Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.